My name is Rebecca Bellantoni, and I'll be having an exhibition at the Warr Pavilion this summer called Day in Heavy, Judah Leaves. This exhibition will be featuring installation and sculptural works made up of ceramics, textiles, wood, sound, photography, and found objects. In my broader practice, I also work with performance and moving image. When I started thinking about this exhibition and what I would want it to be, what I wanted to talk about, I started to think about the writings of Dr. Catherine McKittrick and her thinking about Black women in geography and about how often Black women's lives and Black people, but Black women in particular, are considered or not considered as geographic subjects, as not thought about as people who have the ability to stake claim on space. With this exhibition, what I'm hoping to do is to really speak to place and to relationships and to a deeper relationship that people build with place. When I'm thinking about place, I'm really thinking about social geography. And when I say social geography, I'm talking about the conditions that people live in. I'm talking about how communities are treated by the governments in a place. And although that really plays a very big part in what the exhibition is, I've chosen to step back from the really harsh realities and to look at what happens and how do people find their way through those experiences. There are some objects that lend themselves to talking about the past. They have a history, they have a function, they're involved in ritual. But then I think that there are other objects that you might find strewn, like just anywhere in London, that have what Terry Adkins, an artist, would call potential disclosure. And that by sometimes putting those disparate things together, you can tell a new story. I think the show being next to the sea speaks to the triangle, and the triangle being the transatlantic slave trade, essentially, and the journey that's been taken by people from Africa to the Caribbean, and then from the Caribbean to the so-called empire, to the motherland. And I think it's a poetic way, an unexpected way to speak to that experience. The work that the ceramics feature in is very personal work and quite an intimate work that in some ways I don't really want to speak about, but I think that there's been, in the making of that work, there's been so much internal conversation about opacity and telling other people's stories, even if it does include you in the story. The materiality of the clay and my kind of misunderstanding of the clay has helped me to figure out how to tell the story. When I'm making work, I am making it for an audience, but primarily I am making it for myself to work through things, to gain a greater understanding of the materials that I'm working with, to build on a practice, to tell a story, to extend my thinking about the city and the experiences that make it up. The mystical is an everyday thing. The way that I approach it in my practice is that those who have a spiritual life live a spiritual life. It isn't something that is laid on top of your life. It's something that propels your life in a way, so that you may see a sign in a crack in the pavement, or you may see a sign in a crack in the clouds and the sun shining on you. One of the kind of strands of concrete regenerative yearnings is thinking about how the ancestors would find themselves in a place beforehand, you know? If, for example, my ancestors would know that I was going to find myself in London, they would have found a way to be here for me when I was here. As soon as I got here, they were already here. When my grandparents got off of their plane in this country, their ancestors had already laid the path for them. And I think that's how the mystical makes its way into the everyday. It just is there. There is no, like, I don't have to do it. It just is there, you know?